Hey guys, check out this cool clip from an interview I did with Calvin the Trader for the Forex Beginner Podcast. Yeah, so it was kind of an up and down road. So I was managing the money, which paid very, very, very well if I was good at what I did. However, it was not personally rewarding and it was frustrating. It was not personally rewarding because it took trading from something that was kind of something that I enjoyed to a job. Like there was a lot of pressure, man. That's a lot of money to manage, and this particular client was very involved, right? So if I can start things over, I put a clause in there, hey, like, you don't contact me with any ideas, only if you want to take money out or blah, blah, blah like that. But this guy would contact me like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Or I heard the news and this is going up. So it was always that balance between like, hey, like I got a plan, I'm sticking to it, like we're making money, a balance between that and trying to be like, well, I don't want to make this guy upset and have him pull all his money away. So I want to please him a little bit. And I found that to be very frustrating because on one side, I'm still a younger trader trying to follow my plan 100%. I know my plan produces money and it was producing really good returns. But at the other hand, he wasn't really satisfied with the returns because his mindset was more like, okay, well, if you're making this much, can't you make more if you just risk more? And I'm like, well, if you risk more, you can't survive the drawdowns. But he didn't understand that. He just wanted to, he had kind of that get rich quick, or he was already rich, but make more mentality. Because I guess, for him, I guess 250,000 wasn't a lot. So he was like, yeah, I want to kind of really go after it. And I'm like, I'm more of a cautious individual. Or like, hey, let's just slowly build that. So we got to a point where really good streak of returns, but he's not happy because he's like, well, if you did this good and you just would have traded more, like we could have done even better. And he's like, I want to trade a bigger position size. And again, if I can go back, I would have said no. I gave him all the warnings. I'm like, no, we shouldn't do this, right? I'm on a hot streak. A losing streak's probably going to come. It's just how the probabilities work. We got to be able to absorb this so we can survive the next hot streak. But he's like, no. Let's be risky. Let's do it. And again, I just agreed to it. I said, you know what? You're the boss, man. You're the boss. It's your money. Let's go for it. And took me straight right into a drawdown. And I remember I lost almost like $30,000 within it was really like a month, but the majority of it was like in a week. There was, I think, a natural disaster. I think it was like a tsunami or something in Japan that hit. And I had like 4 or 5 positions on that were all correlated. And then boom, just all tanked and hit this rock bottom point where I turned my computers off. I didn't trade for a week. I was just in a deep, dark place. And then what made it even worse, right? I turned my computer back on like a week later and I realized like, hey, if I would have just kept trading, not only would I have made those $30,000 back, I would have made $30,000 on top of that because after the natural disaster, everything just rebounded and went back to normal. And like that killed me because it was one thing to lose that amount of money, but more importantly, I deviated from the plan. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And because of that, I missed out on an opportunity. And traders know, like good opportunities don't happen that often. And that was my big one. And we had a conversation at that. I said, hey, like, I just don't have joy in this. It was stressful. I wasn't happy. I no longer loved trading. And we had to end the relationship. Now, again, fortunately, I was able to make money off of that funded my accounts. I was able to go back on trading by my own. But the problem with that was not so far afterwards, the broker that I was using got shut down for fraud and lost everything, right? So like I get out of managing money, a frustrating situation. I'm back on my own. I got more money in my account. I'm happy. I'm like, okay, I'm trading for myself. It's good. I've got more capital than I did before because I had this really good streak with this investor. Right now I'm going to do it by myself. I love it again. I'm excited. And then again, I just remember getting an email in the morning from a buddy of mine. He's like, hey man, like, are you with PFG? I'm like, yeah, I'm with PFG. Right? What happened? Like, yo, their CEO just tried to commit suicide in his car. And they found out he was stealing money and fraudulating the numbers on the account. And I'm like, no, this is a reputable broker. Like, no. And then like all over the news and everyone's scrambling to get their money back. And you realize like, man, everything in that account's gone. And then I was forced with this decision. And I go back in my head, and this is where you separate the business decision from being just a good person. So I was still managing money for the minor accounts that I had, not the big one, but the minor accounts, whatever like that. And all of that money was tied up with the same broker. And I had a choice, right? And they knew there was disclaimers, there was contracts, they know the risk of trading, right? We can lose anything, stuff like this happens. And I made the decision. I said, hey, you know what? Like, this is not fair. I'm going to take my own money and I'm going to give them, I'm going to refund their accounts based on my own capital. And again, tough, probably not the best business decision. I'm not the best business person out there, but personally, that's a decision that I sleep well every night because it's the right thing, I believe. But you can imagine that set me back. And so I'm back at square one now where, I've still got capital because I had money in other investments and whatnot, but not enough to trade full time. So I'm like, crap, like I'm back to where I started like 3 years ago. Like, what do I do? And it was at the same time, the mentor that taught me how to coach, he's been asking me for about a year to help coach with him. And I've been saying like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to be a coach. I just want to, I don't want to be in front of cameras and teaching people stuff. I just want to trade. And I finally said, you know what? Let's give this coaching thing a try. Like I needed something to supplement my trading income. I didn't have enough to survive on my own at this time, especially with the family, whatever. Like I didn't have kids yet, but still with me and my wife being together. And I said, hey, either I get a job outside of the industry, or I get something in the industry. And it made perfect sense to do something in the industry. He was like, hey, just trade and do your thing. You don't really have to teach. Just kind of like be an example. And that's how I got into coaching. And then, surprisingly enough, man, I fell in love with it. Did not think I would fall in love with it at all, but I fell in love with it for the reasons we spoke about earlier. I was someone that was fortunate enough to become successful, and I'm working with people that have the same dream as me, and I get to help them along that journey. Like I get to reach my hand back and tell them all the dumb stuff I did and help them achieve the same thing as I did. And it was something I never felt before inside, where like it felt special. I felt like I had a purpose on this planet. Like this is what I was meant to do. Not necessarily, trading related, but like just meant to help elevate others. And haven't looked back since. So it was it was emotional swings and financial swings as well. But again, hey, if that stuff wouldn't have happened, I don't know if I'd be here right now, like in the same place teaching others. So everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that, and we'll get where we're meant to be. And you gotta look at everything as just an opportunity for something else. Hope you guys enjoyed the clip. If you want more, check out the interview I did with Calvin the Trader for the Forex Beginner Podcast. It's available on your favorite podcasting app as well as YouTube. It's titled From Janitor to $250,000 Funded in 1 Year, Forex Success. Again, that's the Forex Beginner Podcast hosted by Calvin the Trader. Check it out. Let me know what you think.